Okay, alright. I want to say this. Jesus was persecuted on the Calvary, on that faithful day in Calvary. Jesus Christ was persecuted because of our sins. People was, spitting on him and throwing stuff at him and calling him names and reminding of the past and all that stuff. And it's kind of like what we do today. People, you have, when you get in trouble or you sin on and stuff like that. People want to remind you of, the things you've done in the past, and you may not agree with what that person did in the past positively, but I just want to say this. I'd rather be persecuted than be validated. Have validation. Meaning, I'd rather save my heart, my gut, and God tells me to do. I'd rather expose false narrative, I'd rather go against the system, which is media and NBA and all these companies, porn industry and NFL and all these other stuff, than to be validated. To when people say, "Oh, I agree," clapping. No, I would rather you may not. I would rather you agree with me to disagree with me. Agree with me to disagree. I would rather you to agree with me or disagree with me. Like I'm not supposed to you're not supposed to understand what I'm saying or doing. It's you that wants me to understand. It's me. It's you that wants me to understand or to explain what's going on. I don't owe you that. I don't owe you an explanation. You often hear that a lot. When Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, when he said slavery was a choice, everybody was saying, "What do you mean by that, Ye? What do you mean by that?" And people quickly were negatively emotional by that comment. Let me say this. Everything that Kanye West says does, God made him do that. God made him say that. His heart made him say that. As the spirit, the feeling in him said that. So when he said slave was a choice, he meant that. Everything he said, he meant it. If he's, I remember I don't know what line of bully he said, but he said something to the effect on his new album Bully. He said, I forget what he said, but he basically stood on everything he said, except for the 2025, because 2025 he was using nitrous and all that stuff. I don't condone what he said in 2025, but in the past, yeah, I agree with what he said. But anyway, you will never understand what people are saying. Don't I'd rather you to never understand me than to be understood. Because we weren't born to be understood. We were not born to be understood at all. Not by a long shot. You know? Look at Michael Jackson, right? He was being persecuted. He was being persecuted for what he said and what he did. But he didn't owe nobody an apology. He just did what he did. You know what I'm saying? The same thing for Bob Marley. Same thing for Tupac Shakur. You know what I'm saying? Same thing for Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. You know what I'm saying? And let me say this. The Martin Luther King, a lot of people got offended by Kanye West saying the Martin Luther King comment, the Martin Luther King thing, lyrics that he said on King, on the first intro of the album. Let me say this, dog. You really gotta, people really gotta be intelligent to know what Kanye West was saying when he said, I, I, I brought a white girl to the altar. It wouldn't happen without Martin Luther King. You know what I'm saying? You gotta understand what you're saying. But I'd rather be persecuted than loved. I'd rather be persecuted by the people that don't know me, and to I'd rather be hated for what I did than who I am. Because who I am is a person that thinks of my own, that don't conform to society and this world and validation and what people gotta say, negative or positive about me, is what I love and what I feel and what God has been doing in my life. And I work for Him. I don't work for nobody. You know, I'd rather stay focused on my mission than to listen to the outside noise. You know, so but anyway, say I love you to your family, your friends, and make sure your family and your friends really say I love you back to you by merely meaning and really saying it.